Hey, what's up, guys? James again with the subject supposed to speak. So, yeah, I find myself just kind of doing this thing every time I get a little antsy or bored of my work or, whatever it is. There's so many thoughts that keep coming to my mind that I just want to get out there. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think where to begin at this point. I feel like a lot of the previous videos have been so much obfuscation and so much of me sort of concealing whatever it is that I really need to talk about. Um, Given that the idea with this is to perform something akin to psychoanalysis on myself using this video medium, using YouTube. Again, I'm still questioning to myself to what extent this is all entirely misguided. But, I guess, living in this digital era, questions of privacy and so forth quickly get complicated. I don't know. I don't know if there's something just entirely shameless or stupid about this, or if it's just a poor substitute for spending some time with a friend, or writing. But I'm going to try and leave those hesitations aside and just talk. So, what is there to talk about then? I don't know. I got this buggered feeling like, okay, I'm still not really well enough to go out. I'm taking off work right now. And I need to talk to something or somebody. I want to have some kind of some kind of meaningful interaction. So here we are, and I'm pausing and I'm hesitating, and I know there's some stuff I want to talk about that I should be talking about, and it just doesn't want to come out. And this is a common occurrence, in the analytic process. I remember when I was engaged in a short stint of counseling sessions when I just transferred away to USC, life adjustment stuff that universities will provide for their students, their incoming students. There were times where I just sit in complete silence, and the practitioner I worked with was a Lacanian by chance. I had a previous interest in Lacan, and he was the one Lacanian on staff as far as I knew. There might have been more, but I don't think so. I think it's rare enough. But that having been said, this is still sort of obfuscation. I'm still not where I want to be in terms of the things that are coming out of my mouth. So I'm thinking about the time I spent as a bouncer. I'm thinking about some of the girls I tried to court in that environment. Just one girl in particular, a coworker of mine. I think she was the second one I tried to get with at that place that I won't name. It was a really happening nightclub right here in the Caneo Valley for a number of years, starting about 2010, 2011. And I remember, the first one I went for was really hot, really sweet, big tits, I'll try not to offer too much identifying information, but you know, I don't know what it was that made me think I was so into her. Probably just like saying I thought she was hot to certain people, and they're just like, "Get in there, dude." And I was like, "Huh? I could do that?" That just turned into this strange, sort of unhappy, emotional deal where at least I played it well enough to where when the sort of fake emotional bullshit that was going on between us was cut short, she was kind of the one who felt abandoned. I know that's fucked up to say, but by the same token, you know, I think that wasn't my worst mistake. My worst mistake, I think, was not just letting her come back around when she wanted to, because she did after that. And, you know, when she tried to come back around, I was just kind of like, fuck this. Like, I'm not even feeling this right now. And then, you know, years later, I would try to come back around. And, you know, she kind of responded at first. And when I found out she was single again, you know, and I hit her up, nothing. And I don't know if it was the way I came off, or, I mean, these sorts of things, once there's like rejection and severance, you know, it's kind of off and on again stuff, just, it doesn't work out. 99% of the time, it doesn't go anywhere. And, you know, just to get on again. And for me, it's like I'm always trying to do this with relationships that never even got off the ground really in the first place. You know, they just, you know, stayed on the level of this sort of imaginary attachments, text messages, like, you know, phone calls, and never really doing shit together in person, which is sad. Because that's the entire point, right? Is to actually be close and to spend time. But, you know, it's risky making yourself vulnerable to people, really, really vulnerable. The risk is even more significant than the risk that I'm taking here, which I still feel is kind of significant. The second one, she was different. She was, I don't know, I think that she had a series of qualities that made her probably a better candidate for an actual relationship. And I don't mean to speak disparagingly of the previous love interest that I, you know, met there at this very happening place that was happening for a while, where we were all working together, because she has a lot of great qualities, and I think she's a great person. You know, as much as I really got to know her, and as much as I was kind of a dickhead to her at the end of the day, you know, which I was, unfortunately, right? And this is kind of a tendency that I'm really trying hard to shrug off, you know, to not care, not think so much about where this could be going, to not be so afraid, to not be so hesitant, to not hem and haw so much, but to just be, you know, spontaneous, and to embrace the moment, and to not be afraid, to love people for however long, however, you know, the chips fall. This is something that's really important to me, to gain this ability, right? To actually really let people in and have real relationships with girls, and not just these kind of imaginary, idealized exchanges, you know, where you're kind of doing violence to the actual person by trying to subsume them under your concept of what they are, which is nasty at the end of the day, you know, and unfortunate. And, you know, granted, like, that's kind of how it always has to start, is you have this idea of this person, but, you know, I need to figure out a way to let that yield to something real. And I know that, because I haven't really been able to. Or if it has happened, there's always been some last barrier that I've refused to get over. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I mean, and that's really the real nitty gritty of this whole thing, is that I've slept with a number of women in my time, and none of them have I slept with twice, right? Now, does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? I don't know, but what it points to me is that I don't sustain relationships with girls that I have sex with. And the other side of it is that I don't have sex with girls that I sustain relationships with. And this is really something that I'd like to get over. And granted, like, nothing ever seems quite right about any of this stuff. The practical position I'm in, the different directions that we're always all headed in our lives, just sort of pursuing our own projects and goals. But why should that even matter? It shouldn't. And I don't know, I guess, the challenge is so multifaceted. But the second girl, yeah, so she was the first, if I remember right, to really start putting it on me. And I don't know if this was the first encounter I had with her. It probably wasn't. We had talked briefly prior to this, and we, we talked about things. We got to know each other a little bit. She disappeared for a while. She was off traveling. I saw her, and we kind of both were throwing it at each other. I'd walk over with my little swagger deal thing, just be like, "Missed you, baby girl," and she came back and she gave me a big hug, and it's all a performance. Gender is a performance, right? That's something that's really important to recognize in all of this. And the question is not whether or not this person is playing games with you. That's not the question. All you guys out there, all you girls out there, that's not the question. The question isn't, is this person just playing? Because no one is ever just playing games with you. The game, the dance, the ritual, that is all designed to elicit a sort of response, right? And like, people say, girls just love attention, but they don't really want to let you in. And if that's the case, it's because the dance that you're throwing back at them isn't fucking working. It's not hitting the nerves that it needs to, right? So that doesn't mean that there's something necessarily inadequate about the girl, right? It could mean a number of different things, but I think generally for us guys, what it means is that we're refusing to play back in a way that's sort of that gives the girl enough of something that she needs to see to go on. And what is that, right? It's elusive. It's really hard to pin down and to say. It's something that you just kind of find yourself doing in the moment. And a nightclub is a very useful place for measuring, engaging, and learning about these sorts of interactions and how to interact well, when trying to just sort of court in the moment, I mean, like, you meet people in different contexts, and that determines the form the relationship takes, right? And like, I met girls at school, and it's a decidedly different sort of situation than at the nightclub. But and to me, it's hard because when you meet someone at school, for me, like there's all these entrenched defenses, like, oh, I'm supposed to be here in class, I'm supposed to be studying, I'm supposed to be taking this seriously, I shouldn't get too distracted, la 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 la, you know, and all this shit just gets in the way because you're busy trying to be a good worker bee, you know, trying to fulfill these impersonal requirements, make the grade, la la la. You know, the point is for you to focus on yourself, and that, you know, because of the way school is sort of structured, the fact that it's primarily conceived of as something vocational these days, it can get in the way of being able to explore things socially. And I think this is especially true for me, given my disposition. But it's true for a lot of other people too. I know that, you know, and like colleges are notorious places for people to be promiscuous and to have sex without consequences or strings attached. Yeah, I get it. And a lot of people are able to do this without, like, you know, fucking with their performance in school and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you know, even so, you know, like in the nightclub venue, it's just like everything is so primed for you to put on that performance in a way that can yield you a direct result. Because people come to nightclubs, why do they come to nightclubs? To drink, to dance, to fight, to fuck. Those four things, really, right? And I just remember, like, how thick the act was between me and this girl. And she was a female player, you know. She liked sex, and she got around, and it was no huge secret, you know, even though she was a very polite and respectful person, you know, and a great girl, at least I thought. And, you know, I just remember, like, for a while, things kind of started to escalate between us, you know, almost like on a completely nonverbal level, to where, you know, we kind of touch each other, brush each other, talk, you know, give each other hugs, you know, just keep it short, you know, nothing too overblown, lengthy, you know, we always had work to do. And then, you know, I remember one day, like, we see each other, we both entered the club from different parts, you know, of the same sort of L-shaped hallway, and she's just such a cute, sweet little strawberry shortcake redhead. I have some kind of thing in my head for redheads. I have an idea of what that amounts to. I don't want to even talk about it, though. I think it would be a bit much. So I have my limits here. But so we see each other from maybe 20, 30 feet away, and immediately, without saying anything to each other, we just run to each other, and she jumps in my arms, and I spin around in circles, and then her foot, like, hits the wall, and she's like, eh. And I put her down. And, you know, we had these kinds of engagements, and, you know, one day she blows by me. I don't know if this is before or after that time. She blows by me. I'm posted up at this intersection of these hallways, and she puts her hand on my face, and she's like, hey, handsome. She bolts right by me. Shit, dude. Okay. Like, this needs to go somewhere now, you know, is what I'm thinking to myself. This really, like, all this sexual tension, come on, like, we could do better. We could actually go somewhere with this, or attempt to, right? And so, like a complete idiot, worst way of going about this sort of thing, I could have just asked for her number directly. It would have been the smartest thing to do. Instead, I found her on Facebook and sent her a short message asking for her number. My sweet girl. Too much, dude. Too much, and not the right way of going about it, right? This was not, you know, me at my best here. But, so, she gets back to me politely and respectfully, and says, hey, we'll catch up sometime. Doesn't even remember. So then she posts some stuff about how she's going to the fair and whoever wants to hit her up. I'm like, and like a total dickhead. This was a dick move, but it was kind of slick at the same time. I responded to her post on her wall, and I'm like, hey, I would have been totally down, but you didn't give me your number. Sucks for you. This was me just trying to salvage something that I knew I'd kind of fucked up already, right? Or at least possibly had fucked up. So I see her at work maybe a day or two later, and she's just like, and I'm just like, hey, boo, like, fuck, dude. At this point, I don't fucking care, I can work with you just fine, so we're interacting, and she's a little nervous and anxious and stuff, and finally I'm just like, hey, like, she's like, can you call a manager? She needed a manager, and, finally, at some point I'm just like, hey, check it out. He's right over there. Like, you don't need me to call him. She's like, oh, kind of snaps out of it. And, I don't know if she was just asking me to do that to say, be mindful of your duties. This is a workplace, la 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 la. Whatever. I knew she had already hooked up with people there, so it's like, don't need to transfer that shit at me. Sorry if I made you uncomfortable, but like, don't even try and get all disciplinarian and throw this insistence on professionalism at me. It's like, how many bouncers and cocktail waitresses at all of these places just fuck like rabbits? A whole lot of them. So anyways, time moves forward, and so I just kind of like start kind of ignoring her. I'm just like, whatever, dude. Like, you obviously feel you have better things to attend to, so why am I going to do anything but play the same card with you? And so I do that for a while, and she'll like just come up to me, put her face up to me, and I'm just like, cool, I'm turning to talk to my coworker, just showing her that I do not need shit from her. And this was actually pretty slick, right? This promoted the possibility of a happy game, right? And that's the question. It's not a question, again, whether or not that person is playing games with you. No. Because we are always playing games with each other when we are interested in each other sexually. Okay? There's no way around it. And the insincerity masks the sincerity. That's the thing, right? And people who act the most sincere sometimes are the ones who are perhaps the most insincere. But all of that stuff comes out in the wash, right? And there's no hard and fast rules for any of it. The determinant as to whether or not someone is being sincere with you, this is it, right? Like 99% of the time, I believe this. It depends on how your actions reflect your own sincerity and your own commitment and your own ability to make yourself vulnerable in the right sort of way, right? I'm not talking about sending love letters via email. No. This is bad. Gushy text messages is really bad. I'm talking about pushing right through that fear of rejection that everybody has and grabbing a hold of the person that you're trying to court or flirt with or whatever, and just being like, what's up? Touching her, showing her that you're not afraid to do any of that. Giving her a kiss on the cheek, or keeping it nice and quick at first, just being like, I like you and I'm moving on. For guys, that's an important point, right? Because girls are constantly, if they're the least bit attractive, constantly having 1,000,001 dudes coming at them from every different angle, and they get to choose, the ones who are the most competent, who show the least, sort of pathological need, or neediness, rather. And I don't know. But again, the point is whether or not the game has a happy resolution, right? Whether or not the game is fulfilled, or the sort of the goal of the game is fulfilled. It's not whether or not they're playing games, whether or not they're sincere. No one really even knows if they're sincere or not until the actual dream is coming true, until the fantasy is being acted out in reality, right? So, and this is all stuff that I've gleaned from mostly failure, predominantly, and I can speak all this stuff. Putting it into action is a whole another ballgame, and it usually just kind of, for me, it typically, the best I often do is just to get the number, and then from there it typically falls apart. But that having been said, what made my whole deal with girl number 2 at the nightclub a slick move, when I kind of ignored her for a bit, was this. One day, it came to me that nothing had been screwed up, that the door was still open, that me taking my leave of her was a good way of showing her, look, I got my own shit going on, and I'm not the least bit concerned about you if you're going to act all coy and shy at this point, and you're not going to take my attempts at advancing on you as worth your time. So cool, I projected value in that way, in being a little bit withholding. But finally I realized, you know what, dude, why don't you drop the act for a bit and just say what's up, not saying that that's not an act in and of itself, but it just came to me, this like epiphany, that the door was still open and that something could still be had of this. And so I showed up at work one night and I see her and I'm like, hey, I call her by name, I'm like, what's up, and she got this big shit-eating grin on her face, and for like the next month, every time she saw me, she would come up to me, give me the biggest hug, and kiss me on the neck, and just be beaming. And that was such a valuable lesson for me, and such a triumph for me. And again, whether or not you actually hook up with the person, whether or not you establish the kind of relationship you wanted to, you imagined, blah blah blah, none of that matters all that much. I think at the end of the day, what matters is that whatever foibles or follies or mistakes you imagine yourself to have made, at the end of it, if you can keep that person interested, and if you can prevent yourself from slamming any door shut, to me that's good enough. I think that's what it's about. I mean, the worst thing is to try and come on to somebody in such a way to where whatever efforts you make just are just rife with desperation and fear, and done it plenty of times. Lots of guys, most guys, we've all been through it. We've all put ourselves through it. We've all put some poor girls through it too. And it's never something that anyone's fully immune to. I would say, no matter how much they've got going on. But the point is to learn to get away from that mode of interaction, and to start playing happy games, right? Not sad ones. And yeah, so nothing really ever came of it with girl number 2. I really liked. um, we kind of danced around the issue and we flirted more, and you know, I variously kind of fell back into this kind of needy space a little bit with her, and she didn't appreciate that, I'm sure. But you know, I kind of flinchingly made gestures towards getting her to come out with me, and you know, by the time I had done that, it was just, she was kind of like, yeah, like I'd be open to it, but like, what are you so scared of, you know? So there's always this sort of in and out, up and down dynamic, you know, and I guess I'm trying to speak in generalities when I should be just speaking about myself. I don't know. For me, I guess the sad part is that nothing ever feels quite right. I always feel like there's something that's off about whatever it is that I'm trying or attempting to do. And maybe it's because I'm just deeply ashamed of myself and my circumstances, and I feel like I should have overcome them by now. I feel like I should be independent. I feel like I should have a vocation or a career that I can really sink my teeth into. I feel like I should be making enough money to where I can have my own place and I don't have to worry about, you know, trying to negotiate that when it comes up. And maybe these things are all real and significant, but I think 50% of it's probably in my head. And this is the kind of stuff that comes up in the course of analysis, right? Problems with love and work. These are the places, these scenarios wherein we put our neuroses the most on display as human beings. They're also, you know, in terms of family, friends, and work, you know, that's what the majority of our time is spent on as human beings in this post-industrial world. Wish it could be different. I know that, I believe that I'd be happier as a hunter-gatherer. I'd probably command a lot more value in that sort of a situation, that sort of a society. I probably would die earlier, but hey, in any case, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd like to explore the questions as to why it seems to be so hard for me to sort of consummate things with a girl that I have existing feelings for. I always become coy or shy or hesitant or, you know, refusing at, you know, just crucial moments in the course of the relationship. And I don't know if and when that's ever going to change. And it's kind of a daunting thing to think about. You know, I'm 33 years old. The reality of it is that I've had a lot of girls who have attempted to make me theirs, and I've never really had a girlfriend. Like, that's the honest truth. Doesn't mean I'm deficient, doesn't mean I'm defective, doesn't mean I'm a tool. Who the fuck knows or cares? Obviously, it's a source of inadequacy for me. And I variously try to console myself by saying, yeah, well, once you get your life straightened out, that's when, you know, maybe something good will come along and you can make something serious happen. But in the meantime, there's fun to be had, right? There's no reason to just insist on a life of hermitude, isolation, and celibacy, just because you're not exactly where you want to be. And I guess that's just kind of my hang-up, that I'm still trying to get figured out. But so we're about 35 minutes in. I'm feeling pretty tired. Feels like mission has been accomplished in terms of my antsiness being assuaged. I could probably start to put myself to bed at this point and be alright. So, hey, that was helpful, whether or not it was at all interesting to you and whether or not anybody's even watching it. But if you did tune in, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.